Hello and welcome. Today we're diving into a financial tool that's so powerful, it's almost like a time capsule for wealth. We're talking about something that can preserve a family's fortune not just for a lifetime, but for literally centuries. We're talking about dynasty trusts. So let's get right into it. So here's the big question that gets us started. How do some families manage to keep their wealth growing through generation after generation, dodging the taxes and the financial pitfalls that can just chip away at a fortune over time? Well, the answer often comes down to a very specific, very powerful type of planning. But before we can really wrap our heads around a dynasty trust, we have to start with its foundation, its core building block. And that is the irrevocable trust. If you get this concept, the rest of it just clicks right into place.
Okay, so what exactly is an irrevocable trust? Well, the name kind of gives it away. Once you create it and put your assets inside, you can't just change your mind. It's a one-way street. Those assets are no longer legally yours. They belong to the trust itself. It's a permanent move, and that permanence has some major consequences.
And this brings us to this fascinating trade-off, what you could call the grand bargain of preserving wealth. The person who creates the trust, they're called the grantor, makes a really big strategic decision. They give up direct control over their assets, but in exchange for that sacrifice, they get some incredibly powerful protections in return. This slide lays out the difference perfectly. On one hand, you have a revocable trust. It's flexible, sure, you can change it whenever you want, but it offers zero real protection from taxes or creditors. An irrevocable trust, on the other hand, is permanent, and it's that permanence that creates this powerful shield. For long-term wealth preservation, that shield is absolutely everything.
Okay, so we've got the irrevocable foundation down. Now let's get to the main event. Let's see how this basic structure gets upgraded into something way more powerful, the dynasty trust. You can think of it as the supercharged, long-range version of the trust we just talked about.
So here is the crucial distinction. A dynasty trust is an irrevocable trust, but it has a very specific mission: longevity. It is engineered from day one to last for many, many generations. This allows wealth to pass from a parent to a child to a grandchild, and on, all while sidestepping a huge tax hit each time. A great way to picture this is as a wealth fortress. The assets are put inside its thick, high walls where they're protected from all the dangers of the outside world. And this fortress isn't just built to survive one attack. It's designed to stand for centuries, providing for all the family members who live under its protection. So what makes this fortress so special? What makes it so strong? Well, a dynasty trust has what we can think of as 3 generational superpowers that really set it apart from anything else. And what are those 3 superpowers? First, its incredible, almost perpetual duration. Second, its massive tax advantages. And third, its nearly unbeatable creditor protection. Let's break down each one of those. All right, first up, duration. For centuries, this old legal idea called the rule against perpetuities basically stopped wealth from being locked up in trusts forever. The goal was to prevent a few powerful families from controlling assets for all time. But, and this is a big but, in recent years, many states have weakened or even totally gotten rid of this rule because they're competing for all that trust business. The result? A dynasty trust can now be set up to last for hundreds of years, and in some states, literally forever. The second superpower is its amazing ability to navigate the incredibly complex maze of taxes that hit large estates. Honestly, this is where the dynasty trust really shines. See, when a massive amount of wealth is transferred, it can get hit with huge taxes, like the estate tax. So a family might think, hey, let's just skip our kids and leave the money right to our grandkids. Well, the government saw that coming a mile away, so they created a special, very heavy tax to stop it, called the Generation Skipping Transfer Tax, or GST tax. This is the main villain that a dynasty trust is built to defeat. So how much money are we really talking about here? Well, this is the magic number to keep in mind. Every person gets a lifetime exemption. That's an amount they can pass on completely tax-free. Right now it's pretty high, but in 2026 it's scheduled to get cut almost in half, down to around $15 million for a married couple. A dynasty trust is really for families whose wealth is expected to blow way past that threshold. And here's the genius of how it works. When the grantor creates the trust, they use their one-time lifetime tax exemption on the assets they put in. Once that wealth is inside the trust, it can grow and be distributed to children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren for generations without getting hit by those estate and GST taxes over and over again.
It's a one-time use of the exemption for a multi-generational payoff.
Okay, that brings us to the third and final superpower. It acts as the ultimate financial shield for the beneficiaries. Because the assets are owned by the trust, not by the individuals, they're protected from a whole list of financial threats.
And this is just incredibly powerful. The money in the trust can't be taken by a beneficiary's lenders if they get into debt. It's protected if they get hit with a civil lawsuit. It can be safeguarded during a messy divorce. It can't even be touched to cover things like unpaid medical bills. Those fortress walls are really, really strong.
But, of course, a tool this powerful doesn't come for free. There has to be a catch, right? Building something to last forever has some serious trade-offs, and it's really important we understand the price of perpetuity.
This quote from one of our sources really gets to the heart of the biggest challenge. And it's not just a financial one, it's psychological. It is so hard to let go of control over the wealth you spent your life building. It requires a mindset that's completely focused on the future, not on the here and now.
So the trade-offs are pretty clear. First, and this is the big one we've been talking about, is the total loss of control. The grantor can set the rules at the very beginning, but after that, they can't manage the assets directly anymore. And second, there are significant costs, both for the really complex legal work to set it up right and for the ongoing fees you have to pay the trustee, who is usually a professional company that manages the whole thing. All of this really leads to a pretty obvious question. With all this complexity and all this cost, who is a Dynasty Trust actually for? Is this a tool for everybody, or is it really just for a select few?
And the answer is pretty straightforward. This is a highly specialized tool. It's not for most people. It's designed specifically for high-net-worth individuals and families, people whose estates are big enough that they fully expect to be way over that $50 million tax exemption we talked about. For anyone with an estate below that, the benefits probably don't outweigh the cost and the complexity.
And that brings us to our final thought for today. A Dynasty Trust isn't just about the money. It's really a statement about legacy. You can structure it to reflect a family's core values, maybe encouraging education or charitable giving for generations to come. So it leaves us with this question to ponder. If you could build a financial structure to last for centuries, what would you want it to stand for?